Okay, today I want to spend a little bit of time going through with you a little bit about how the agency model works in our industry. And I know there's a lot of misconceptions about how it works, but the reality is that probably the closest comparison would be to how a real estate agency works. We have some major differences, which I will explain kind of as we go through it. So really, what we are is kind of like a hybrid agency model. So what we have in our company today is we actually have four main positions. First one being training associate. Next one is associate, marketing director, and senior marketing director. And each of these levels, essentially the main difference, right, is what contract that they get paid at. So at training associates, it's 26%, associate is 36, 51% for marketing director, and 66% for senior marketing director. And what we're going to look at today is, what a person could make if they were helping 2 to 3 families per month. So not really huge production numbers, just kind of average. And I think most people, if you were to look at it and say, if they were to help 2 to 3 families per month, that's definitely doable. And, we talked about our part-time training program, but, how many hours does a person think it would take to help 2 to 3 families? Right? That can really be done on a part-time basis if a person spends some time at it. And so we just know based on our numbers that if we go out and help 2 to 3 families a month, that's going to generate about 10,000 points of production. And that is something we'll cover in another video, but exactly how the points work. But the main thing to understand is that based on the points times your contract is how much a person will get paid. So based on those 10,000 points, obviously the training associate is going to make 2,600. The associate will make 3,600. The marketing director will make 5,100, and the SMD will make 6,600. And usually, really, when we're looking at this, right, is that the training associate is somebody who's pretty new. So they need a lot of help, and that's why they're at a lower contract. But over time, as they work their way up the chain and get their promotions, they're going to get paid a higher percent contract. And the one thing that I like about our system and our model here is that it's really a defined management system. So it's not like being in, say, corporate world where you don't really know how you're going to get a promotion. You're kind of told, hey, just keep doing what you're doing, and eventually you'll get your promotion, but you don't really know exactly. The thing I liked about this model was that they laid out for me from day one, here's everything you have to do to get to the next level. And I liked that because I just thought, I'm willing to work hard. Just tell me what I got to do. So that's kind of what we do is we kind of lay out from day one, really how that works, how a person can get to the next promotion level and therefore get a higher commission for each family that they help. Okay, so really how to show you how this agency model works, really the senior marketing director is at the head of the agency, and they're the ones who work in ownership of that agency. So they also get paid what's called an override. So if they bring someone on that's a training associate, and that training associate goes and does a piece of business, the senior marketing director is going to get paid the difference on their contracts. Okay, so in this scenario, that's 40%. So the training associate is going to get 26% on that deal, and the senior marketing director is going to get 40%. And initially, you might look at that and say, well, that doesn't seem very fair. But really what's happening is probably the senior marketing director is doing a lot of the work with that to help them kind of get through and make that money. Now, I know a lot of times, a new trainee doesn't really like that idea as they don't want any help because they want to have all that commission to themselves. But, the whole idea, right, is it's better to get 26% of something rather than 100% of nothing. Because that's what happens for a lot of people if they don't have that support and somebody with seniority really helping them out and sharing with them, I guess their experience and teaching them how to get results a lot quicker, then, that person's going to struggle. They might not make anything. But again, we lay out from day one, what they can do to get to the next levels very, very quickly. Now, one of the other major differences in our agency model here is that, anyone that we bring on board, if they want to just go help families, they can do that. But if they want to, from day one, they can actually start building their own agency as well. So within this, you might have multiple levels where, if the senior marketing director has somebody who's a marketing director, they're going to make 15% on what that marketing director does. But at the same time, that marketing director might have brought on board somebody who's now at the associate level. So what happens in that scenario, if that associate goes and does a piece of business, okay, they're going to get paid their 36%, but then the marketing director is going to get 15%, right, for helping them and training, developing them. And then in that same scenario, the senior marketing director is going to get the 15%. Right? So there can be, different levels of this where, again, the idea being now is, let's say that associate brings on a training associate and they go do a piece of business and they're going to get a 10%. So now the training associate gets 26, the associate gets 10% override, marketing director gets 15% override, and the senior marketing director gets 15%. So this works on multiple levels, but kind of the whole idea behind it then is that this opportunity is available to everybody to go and build a business and build their own agency within another company. Okay, which again, one point, if they build it to a certain point, they're going to get ownership of it, which they can turn around and sell one day. Now I want to share with you exactly how this works and the potential of having an agency and what it can do for a person if they focus on doing that. So what I'm going to talk about here is, let's say you're running the agency and let's say you've trained and developed 6 really good people. Do you think that it would be possible over a period of a couple of years to find 5 to 7 really good people to bring on board and work with you? Yeah, it should be doable, right? So let's say that you, as the senior marketing director, that you have 2 people at the marketing director position, 2 at associate, 2 at a training associate. Okay, so you go out and you're helping your 2 to 3 families a month, and the reality is a lot of that's actually going to come through field training as well, where you don't necessarily have to go find people forever either. It's people that you're helping train. So at that 66% contract, you'd be making $6,600. Okay, now the marketing directors, they've usually gotten to a point where they've come full time now. They know the business well enough, and they're going to be very close to being as good as you at the business. So if you have 2 of them, and they're probably working time, between the 2 of them, they're probably going to be able to generate 20,000 points of production. You would get a 15% bonus on that, which works out to $3,000. Now, at the associate and training and associate levels, again, a lot of times they're going to be part-time, so they're maybe not going to be helping quite as many families, but if there's 2 at each of the next level, they should be able to generate between them about 10,000 points. So at the associate level, you would get a 30% bonus on that, which works out to another 3,000, and then 40% on the training associate, which works out to $4,000. Okay, so if you work that out, that actually works out to $16,600 a month, or about $199,200 per month. Okay, so not too bad, right? Now, of course, I'm not naive enough to think that some of you that are watching this aren't already making that kind of money. But the nice thing is, when you really consider this, if there's you plus 6 people, is that a big business? Not really, right? So if you look at this, if you don't need to be making $199, you don't have to build as big a business if you don't want to. But on the flip side, if you want to build a massive business, you can build it as big as you want. You can train and develop as many great people as you want and continue to scale that income up to whatever you want it to be. Also keep in mind that with this 199 too, we also haven't built into this trail commissions, additional bonuses, which would take that number even higher. Okay, and we do talk about that in one of the other videos. So the other thing I want to talk about then is one of the big differences between us and the real estate scenario, right? Is because we talked about how In a lot of cases, this marketing director might be getting just as good as you. And in the real estate world, this person would probably come to you and say, okay, I'm only getting paid 51%, and you're making 15% off of me. And I'm just as good at selling houses as you. Like, what plans you have in place to pay me the same contract? And obviously, the person running that agency is going to say, well, there are no plans, because if all of a sudden he pays that person the exact same contract, where does his revenue go? There's nothing left there, right? So what happens is that person's probably going to get disgruntled. And if they're working in, just to pick a couple of random ones, right? If someone's working in the Remax system and Century 21 comes along and says, hey, tell you what, why don't you come run an agency for us and we'll give you that top contract? Well, do you think that person's going to go, or do you think they're going to stay? Right? They'll be gone in a heartbeat. So what happens in that model is that we end up training our own competition, right? Because that person running the agency worked with that person, developed them, helped them get really good at sales, shared all their experience, and now they leave and they're in direct competition. So obviously we didn't want to have that happening in our model. So you can't be training, developing people to leave. It's just a waste of time. So what's built into our compensation is where I can say to someone, listen, tell you what, if you do these things that we laid out, you can actually get the exact same contract, right? And that kind of incentivizes everybody to work together. It's actually then in my best interest to trade, to work with that person, teach them all my trade secrets, because they're not going to be turning around and leaving, and I'm still going to get bonused on what they do. So let's say that over the course of time, then you're actually able to help two other people become senior marketing directors as a part of your extended organization. And they've come out of a business model where they've built something that does that same 50,000 points per month. Well, now what you get for having trained and developed them, you'll actually get a 12% bonus on what they do. So they've gotten to the point where they've got their 66% contract now, and they're probably not even working in your system anymore. They may have their own office, etc., but you're still going to get a 12% bonus on what they do. So if you develop two of them, that's a total of 100,000 points in a month at 12%. That's an extra $12,000 per month that you would get compensated. And so when we actually look at this, then now you're going to have, kind of your main office, your main agency. It's paying you $199,200 per year. Plus you have these other agencies where you help develop those leaders, and now they're running their own, but you're going to get bonused $144,000 a year, bringing your total to $343,200 per year. And so what I would ask you is, if you take the time to think about, some of the goals and dreams you've always had for your life, maybe some of that's happening for you, but maybe it's not, right? If you were to take the time and make a list of 101 things that you want to do in your life, how many of those things have you been able to do based on where you are in your career today with what you're currently doing? Now ask yourself, if you were making $343,000 a year, would you be able to start doing more of those things that you haven't been able to do up until this point? Because that's really what's possible within this system. And again, if some of your goals and dreams are going to require even more, you can scale it to do that, and we'll teach you how to do that too. So based on that, if you're wanting to learn more, we should probably book a time to have further discussion, get all your questions answered.